Hi, I'm Michael Yardney, and successful investors learn as much from their mistakes as they do from their successes, whereas the average Australian seems to make the same financial errors over and over again. And then they wonder why things don't change. To help place you in that successful group, let's have a look at 9 of the most common financial mistakes people make so you can avoid them. The first one is getting caught in what I call the income trap. Most Australians are caught in the rat race, believing that the way to become rich is to increase their working income. Think about it, when they start working, they manage to survive on a basic wage, but each time they get a raise, they use extra money to buy stuff. Their first car, then a bigger car, then a TV. You know what I mean. Because they spend all their income, they end up working harder and harder and advance into higher paying positions, and then they buy more stuff. And on it goes. The more they earn, the more they spend, and now even their substantial salary won't cover their increasingly expensive lifestyle. You see, when you focus on income, you fall into the trap of spending all you can earn. More income without the right financial understanding, habits and skills is as dangerous to your financial success as too little income. Of course, the solution is to earn passive income, money you make when you don't work. The second financial error is saving like middle income earners. The average Australian is taught to invest in superannuation or to set aside 10% of their income to build a retirement nest egg. Now, this is fine if your goal is to become a middle income earner, but you're never going to become wealthy this way. The trouble is the concept of building a nest egg is inherently flawed. Your goal shouldn't be to accumulate a lump sum and then slowly spend it during retirement, hoping that you don't outlive your money. Rather, you should build a big asset base that generates passive income, ongoing income, a self-perpetuating money machine, like a well-located residential property portfolio. The third mistake people make is never learning to invest. Most of us have never been taught how to save, let alone invest. Younger generations are living differently to their parents. They're marrying later, spending more on lifestyle, and many are actually fearlessly taking on credit cards. As a result, they've got significant earning capacity but few assets. I must admit that when I was young, I couldn't spend money fast enough either. But inevitably, a time comes when you've got to manage your finances better. To become financially independent, you need to build an asset base that generates passive income, as I've said, like a sound property portfolio. The fourth error is falling prey to easy credit. Look, the fact is consumer debt is too easy to get today. Large retailers offer the latest gadgets. You can get them interest-free with no deposit. You don't have to pay for years, and that sounds great. But for the people with poor money habits, it's a massive trap. Anything you purchase with free credit goes onto your account, and you don't even own it when you walk out the door. When the bill inevitably arrives, what do most people do? They only make the minimum monthly repayment. Now the credit card company's got you right where they want you. At the end of the finance term, you've paid much more in interest, and at the end of the interest-free period, you haven't paid off the item, so you start paying at that much higher interest rate, sometimes 30% on the balance owing. The fifth mistake is getting advice from the wrong people. Many people don't realise that they're repeating the same financial patterns their parents demonstrated. They continue to consult their uncle who's broke or friends who are struggling to make ends meet. Why would you ask advice from somebody who's not achieving the results you want? Instead, surround yourself with the best and you'll be at your best. Use others' successes as templates to close the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. The sixth financial trap is trying to do it on your own. Because the property markets are booming at present, some investors think they can buy almost any property and it's going to end up being a great investment. Unfortunately, this is far from the truth. In my opinion, less than 5% of properties currently on the market are investment grade. And just like in the last cycle, many investors who buy the wrong properties are going to lose out. Don't be afraid to ask for help, but make sure it's from an advisor, somebody who's got your best interests at heart and is paid by you. And don't get advice from a salesman whose loyalties lie with his clients, with the vendor or the developer. You see, buying property is a complex process, and as I've often said, if you're the smartest person in your team, you're in trouble. Now, of course, I think that a property investment strategy should be the centre of your wealth creation team, coordinating all the others. But then some say I'm biased. However, I know that my team at Metropole Property Strategists have helped thousands of ordinary investors, thousands of normal Australians create significant wealth through property, and we can do the same for you. The seventh mistake is thinking that investing is too difficult. Many people feel they can't invest or they're too busy, so they take the path of least resistance and they don't do anything. Others start climbing the investment ladder, but they give up along the way because they're stuck in the rat race and can't see themselves getting anywhere. However, wealthy people plan, take action, learn from their mistakes, consult experts, and they take charge of their own financial affairs. Sadly, most people aren't prepared to pay for good financial advice. The truth is we're all going to pay a learning fee as we move up the property ladder or as we get investment success. Some are prepared to pay mentors and advisors while others end up paying the markets. And you know, this tends to be a much more expensive way to learn. The eighth big mistake is making emotionally based financial decisions. Look, we all tend to make most of our decisions based on emotion, and it's important to recognise that we do so. Your subconscious financial blueprint, your beliefs and your emotions associated with regarding money, they colour your financial decisions. While you can't change this fact, you can change your thoughts and your feelings about money so they have a positive influence and make you less fearful of climbing up the investment ladder. The ninth financial mistake is letting fear get in the way. True wealth is on the other side of fear. Over the years, I've learned that fear prevents many of us from getting what we want or what we want to be, especially with regard to wealth. Think about the times when fear stopped you from taking action, costing you potentially a large financial opportunity. The key is to harness your fears in a positive way, because fear can hold us back or it can drive us forward. If you learn to think like a wealthy person, you've got a much better chance of becoming one. Remember, anyone can do it, but not everyone will. So my question is, will you? I'd love to catch up with you in my National Property Market Update seminars I'm conducting around Australia in 5 capital cities, where I'm going to share the way to become wealthy through property and how to avoid these sort of mistakes. Get all the details by clicking on the link on this page, and I look forward to seeing you there.